Well, hello, and thank you for joining me today. I'm Kate Latham-Whitley from Startup to Setup, and I have the lovely Carolyn Parker here today, who is here to tell us all about what she does. So, hi, Carolyn, welcome.
Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a real pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm really, really excited because what I really enjoy is seeing how people progress through in what they're doing and all the brilliant ideas that come into fruition. And it's really exciting for me to see people coming out with really heartfelt new businesses. I think it's really, really important at the moment. So Carolyn, what do you do?
Yes, the $1 million question. So my actual title is a mindset coach, which confuses people sometimes. They've heard of a coach, but they're not quite sure what a mindset coach is. So I do all the things that a regular coach does, helping people get from where they are now to where they want to be, but with a twist. So the twist is we discover the obstacles that are all in their mind, and a lot of the obstacles are in our mind, that are stopping them moving forwards in their lives. And then, having identified those, we use some easy strategies and tools to help them turn those around so they can see themselves in a more positive light and get that confidence that they need to move forwards.
So literally, a mindset coach does what it says on the tin, doesn't it? It helps you reframe your mindset. It's as simple as that.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So who do you work with, and also why do you work with that particular group of people?
Okay, so I work with women, mainly in the 40 to 65-year-old age group, who have low self-esteem issues or confidence and self-image issues in their mind or in their lives as a result of some kind of life trauma. And it started off as that big section of people, but recently I've sort of brought that right down to just working with people who are survivors of domestic abuse.
Yeah, very, very big topic, very much needed. And actually, I can see now why a lot of people would think that it's just a case of getting yourself out of that situation. And it's not that easy, is it? So even if you've made those steps to do that, your mind is going to be in a very fragile situation. And I suppose you're going to be in a really vulnerable situation where you're more open to anything that could be said from then on. I should think that's really quite important to have somebody key like yourself.
Yes, Kate. Can I say why I work with that particular group of people?
Yes, please do.
And it's because I've walked several miles in their shoes, and I survived 2 abusive marriages myself, and so I've got that empathy and that understanding.
Right.
I'm not saying I understand exactly where they are, but I've got a little bit of an insight of where they might be, and they know that they will be heard and their story will be validated, and they can have the confidence that I'm walking alongside with them, and I'm wanting them to be successful on their journey.
That's very key. I think, I mean, a lot of people who have been through very similar situations can claim to have, I know exactly how you're feeling. And it's really quite refreshing to say that you know the mindset, you know where they're coming from, and you totally don't necessarily get exactly where they are right now. But having been in that similar situation, you understand the feelings that it brings up. And I think that's where people can often get stuck, isn't it? Because they don't quite know what to do with all the new feelings.
Yes.
So have you always done this type of work?
No, is the short answer. But I've always been a people person. I first started working as a physiotherapist back sort of 1920. Not the year 1920 when I was 19.
You're looking good for your age there, girl.
And then I had quite a big career break with when I had my 2 children. I went back to work as a physio assistant for a while. So I did a couple of training courses at that time, a foundation counselling course and active listening course as well. I've had quite a broad experience of life as a whole, and lots of little tiny part-time jobs in between, which has really helped me to understand a broader view of how people feel about things and how people think. So those things have included like working as a cleaner and a housekeeper, to working as a train plater and taking top-end motors around the country, which was a lovely job to have. And 10 years ago, I started up my business around here as a care support worker. And with lockdown, that has all stopped because I'm not on the front line. I'm more as a respite sitting carer. And so this is when I've really started to think about continuing more with the coaching.
That's really interesting, because I think having a variety of jobs also means that you have met a very wide variety of people from all backgrounds. I mean, I've been a cleaner. I've also been the vice president of an international sporting federation. Like yourself, polar apart, you know what I mean? Complete opposites. But and I've been a bus driver, you know, and so like yourself, having different jobs, it doesn't, domestic abuse, it impacts everybody anywhere. And I think that's the point that I've just got from what you've said, is that it impacts anybody anywhere. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing, what your situation is. That has nothing to do with it. In fact, it's actually not that at all. It's anybody. And I think that's quite key. So what sort of problems, can you give us a couple of examples of the sort of problems that that your clients would have?
I think the number one problem is confidence, not having the confidence to move from where they are now to anywhere else, really. Just the fear is all encompassing, and they might have left an abusive situation, but they're still being controlled by the negativity and the negative words that have been pounded into them over those years, and their lack of self-belief and self-respect. They quite often have a sense of self-loathing, really.
Yeah, I can see
and don't think they're worth anything or anybody taking any time over them. Also, there's often other situations that go along around that. So there might be a divorce, or usually a divorce or separation situation, financial worries, housing worries, and other things, work-related worries. And sometimes their own family are just not really sure how to relate to them anymore, and they're just not sure what to say. But they can take that as their family not liking them, or having
being so supportive. I mean, the thing is, when we change as people, even if it's to get out of to a situation that's not good for us, and we start moving towards a better situation, we actually do change as people, don't we? And even if it's for the better and the positive, that still impacts a change on other people's lives around them, who other people aren't used to seeing us in a different light, and that affects their relationship, doesn't it? So how can that impact their lives? And what else, other sort of things would impact the lives that they have now if they've sort of started to step forward?
I think mainly they just feel stuck. They want to move forward, but they're not quite sure how they go about that. And then there's the fear of failure more than anything, or fear of going back into a situation which is maybe going to be as bad or worse than the situation before. There's a great tendency to feel, speaking from personal experience now, that there's that sign that says victim on your head. And it's because you're giving out all those wrong vibes. So you're attracting people to you that are the wrong kinds of people. So from a relationship point of view, I jumped from one abusive relationship into another, not realizing, because it didn't look the same on the outside. And I thought everything was all right, and it wasn't. But I was giving out those vibes of being very dependent on somebody and very easy to control, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that makes really good sense, because I suppose if you've been in a very controlling environment, you're always used to having everything you do run by somebody else. Somebody else is always giving you the final approval. Yeah. So you've got into the habit of always needing some external approval for everything you do. And a lot of people like that anyway, but especially in this situation. So I guess when you meet somebody who doesn't look like that on the outside, and they're giving you some nice positive affirmations to start with, it's still a form of controlling, but you don't necessarily recognize it, I guess, and you're still feeling that need for approval. So I guess that would be something that people would need help with the most, wouldn't it?
Yes, definitely. Getting a healthy view of themselves, so then others can see them as a competent and confident strong woman who knows what she thinks and knows what she wants to do, and isn't going to be put up with anything. I'm going to say put up with any shit, but I'm probably not allowed to say that.
You can say that. It's absolutely right, though. It is. And it's also recognising what that is. So what would often stop somebody? Because I'm just saying, we've just talked about that. It's actually hard to recognise unless you actually get some help. So acknowledging that or knowing that or recognising it, I would say, is probably one thing that stops people getting help.
Yeah.
But let's just say they may have recognised it and they know they need some help in something, but they're not quite sure what. What would stop somebody from reaching out?
Again, the word fear comes up. It's fear of not being understood, fear of not being heard, fear that they really don't want to go there again. And the fact that moving forward might mean having to look back to move forward and just not wanting to touch that at all. Also, the whole idea of what it's going to cost them to do that emotionally, but also financially.
Yeah.
And feeling that they're not worth investing in themselves. And it takes a little bit of coaching to help people see that they are worth coaching, because it's going to make such a tremendous difference in their lives. To begin with, people don't see that they think, well, what's coaching going to do for me, and who's going to want to coach me anyway? It's that kind of defeatist kind of mindset.
I guess then when you're in that defeatist mindset, you actually do start looking for other, I'm going to say sort of excuses, although I don't mean that negatively, but sometimes paying for something. So, if, we can get this sort of thing for free. You can wait for months and months. But the thing is, what sort of damage is happening to your own self within you? And I say damage because you come out of a situation like that, and you're literally on your own and you're quite vulnerable. You're more open to building yourself up in a way that perhaps isn't as good for you because you haven't been able to address certain issues. So I seriously think that the money side of things, sometimes I think people don't realise, actually, do you know what? I'm going to just get this done and sorted now. And it does depend on which, where you live in the world, I guess, as to whether you're used to paying for therapy, treatment, or seeing a coach. But I think sometimes we just have to just bite the bullet. If we were going to recommend it to a friend, we would say, do you know what, just do it. But I'm wondering if when it comes to the clients that you work with, if they've said to you, actually, I recommended it to my friend, but it took me ages to do it myself.
Yeah, I would say that for myself as well. Yes.
Really?
Sometimes to actually say, well, you kind of want to feel you can do it yourself too.
Yes, I guess so.
It's like it's another admission that you need somebody else to do something for you. You're out of this situation now, and you should be able to, that's a big word. You should be able to do it yourself. And it's it feels almost a sign of failure that you haven't managed to get up and get going again. But what's wrong with you? You're out, and people looking at you tend to say, but you're out of the situation now. So what's wrong? They don't understand.
Yes, that's really interesting. So then you just feel a bit more of a failure, and it sort of perpetuates the feeling of self-worth, and you end up in this loop, I guess.
Yeah. So it's getting out of that to realise that with having that extra help, you can get out quicker and better than you can when you're putting all your own strategies in place. As you say, some of them might not be very healthy. It might be sort of withdrawing from life and not facing anything, not walking outside your comfort zone, just sticking to what you feel you know and is comfortable. Whereas having that hand holding to encourage you to face those feelings and things that you really don't want to look at and to move forwards is probably the best option.
I think it is, and especially when it's somebody who not only is very well trained in what they're doing, but has also been through a similar situation. And it doesn't always have to be the same situation, but a similar situation of in your situation of in that controlling environment, whatever that means to somebody. I think that's quite key for actually reaching out and just taking that hand, because it just proves that actually it does make a difference. It is going to help move people forward, isn't it? So what would be the first thing that you would do with a new client? What would happen when they come and see you and they've made that step and they go, okay, here I am, Carolyn. They're obviously sitting in front of you on the screen or whatever, you're feeling a bit nervous, aren't they? What happens?
So I think the first thing is that reassurance. It's just having a little chat, and maybe for the first session, just making it less of a working session and more of a get to know you session. Listening is very key, not just to the words that they're saying, but the words they're not saying and their body language, and when they're not giving you eye contact, all those extra keys that's going to help you to see the areas that they're finding particularly difficult and feeling really vulnerable in at the moment. Trying to have some sort of idea of how they would like to be. So it's very hard to move forward without a goal. So you need to have some kind of goal, and then you can set some smaller ones that are easier to get to. And then from that, it's looking at, what do we look at first? What is going to make the biggest difference to you straight away? So in the trade, we call it having an easy win. So maybe you'd look at something that they kept saying when they were talking, that you could maybe turn around and help them to, every time they say that thing, to turn it around and say something more positive.
Yeah.
So already they're doing some work. And I think this whole control thing, which has come up a lot through this conversation, a coach, when you go to a coach, you are in control. You are in the driving seat. You're the one that makes the decisions about what your next step is going to be, when you're going to do that, how you're going to do that. And I think that's why coaching is so good for something like domestic abuse, because straight away you've got that control back. And that's one of the things that I would stress at the beginning, that you are in control here. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just asking you questions that help you make that decision of what you would like to try, what you would like to do next.
That's actually quite key, because I'm thinking that when someone comes to see you, something has actually happened and triggered where they've gone, this is the last straw, right? That's enough. Or they're just, confidence is like, oh, I wish I could just go and do this. So there's normally some tiny little reason, a small reason in the whole scheme of things, as to what actually tipped them over to then come and see you. So they've come to see you with this first level surface issue. You know, I want to be more confident. I need to go out and try and get a job, but I'm just struggling with this. So I guess they're putting it all on that. And so by you saying, well, okay, you're not taking that away from them, not saying, well, first of all, we've got to deal with this and deal with that. You're actually not doing that. You're just saying, okay, you're in the driving seat. If that's what we're aiming for at the moment, that would be the first initial small win. And it will, by nature of how it works, work through itself in a way that works for them, isn't it? And I guess that's key, isn't it?
It's got to be personalised to
them.
And just tiny steps as well. And we're talking about having a coaching package of 6 weeks, 12 weeks. It's good to have some structure, but not everybody can move as fast. And you might move quickly through one thing and get that and then slower on something else. So it's important that we just make it personalised for them.
I love that. So you actually will tailor make the times, and you will just go by what they need. And that sounds to me really, really sensible, because you'll recognise when perhaps they don't need the extra sessions. And I think clients need that honesty as well, don't they?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So what do your clients say about you? What do the people who have worked with you, what have they been saying about you? How do they see you?
My clients benefit from the fact that I'm calm and patient and organised, and they always mention that the fact that I'm really patient with them and not expecting them to move forward at some amazing pace, that is always something that they say. And I've got a couple of testimonies, recent testimonies, that I've just want to read out, if that's all right.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, they're fantastic.
So one lady just says, thank you for my tailor-made package. I feel inspired now to be more structured and confident.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
And the other lady mentions this idea of being calm, patient and organised. And she just said, thank you. I benefited from your calm and patient approach during our sessions.
That's just lovely. That means, you know, I think being calm in this situation when they've come from quite a controlling environment, I think their thoughts are all over the place. And for them to just be able to sit with somebody like yourself, who's nice and calm, who's ready to listen, I think it just like the first testimonial helps them actually work out their own structure, so they can literally go, "Ooh, okay." I mean, I'm already feeling, you know, quite nice and positive and calm from speaking with you anyway, and we're just on the interview. So I just think it's lovely. Carolyn, you know, this has been so interesting, really, really interesting. I just think sometimes it's really nice to not only just find out what people do, who they help, but I think it's nice to have gone a bit deeper and found out a bit more behind the scenes, because people are a bit more wary about who do they work with, how do they get to know people, and what is it going to mean for me? I mean, if anybody's watching this, if you would really like to get in touch with Carolyn, please do, honestly. I will be putting all the links below for you to get in touch with her, and I thoroughly recommend it. And I know you're just open to have a chat, aren't you? You're just, you know, have a chat.
Absolutely. Can I just mention, Kate, I am actually in the process at the moment of doing another first steps coaching package, which is specifically for people with domestic abuse. So
Yeah.
the very first steps, particularly when they've left, maybe 6 months, 7 months after they've left, when they've maybe initially had some counselling and now ready to move forward. So that's going to be launched hopefully in October.
Oh, that's brilliant! So you can actually help tailor-make people from all different where they are in the grand scheme of things, because it's not something you just get over in a day, is it? You know, some people are ready to get help straight away, and others, they need to sort out practicalities and then come and see you, I'm guessing. Yeah. Carolyn, thank you so much for being here.
That's all right. Thank you so much for having me, Kate. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yeah, it has. It's absolutely fascinating. And thank you very much indeed for anyone that's listening. Do please feel free to get in touch with Carolyn. And if you would like to also talk to me about anything at all, you can. You're most welcome. See you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.